All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And today we are looking at the Utah Utes. For some of you, this might not be the most exciting segment, but I could also see for some of you that are, really into the numbers and really into the data, this may be one of the most exciting segments we do all year. Um, since it's a bye week, we'll talk about the upcoming games with Arizona State and BYU. I'll try to touch on that a little bit, but this video is really going to be about a look at the season so far. So who's been standing out? Who do we want more from? Who do we want to see more from? Right. So who's been standing out in low sample sizes that we would like to see hit the field more? So it should be a really fun exercise, guys. Before we dive into it, make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment down below. I want to hear what you guys think. Anyone I leave out, anyone I forget to mention, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We put out a pregame breakdown of every game and a post game recap of every game. And I really do believe if you want to stay as insightful and up to date as possible and really know the team, I believe this is the channel to do so. So, make sure you guys stick around. So, we're going to go ahead and get started with the quarterback position. So at the quarterback position, we've got Devin Dampier, and we're going to start with one of his more impressive numbers, and that is going to be his touchdown number. So this is only among quarterbacks that have 50 dropbacks as we look at these numbers. Touchdowns, obviously, that's not a big factor, but when we look at like completion percentage, yards per attempt, stuff like that, we'll want to know how many dropbacks each guy had. So it's at least 50 dropbacks. So you can have somewhat confidence that most of the guys in here are starters and have played a decent amount for their team. And this is only compared to the other P4 quarterbacks. So there's 68 teams listed here, and they're all, decent 68 teams because they're P4. So we're getting a good sample size. So for total touchdowns through the air, Devin Dampier is tied for ninth in the P4 with 11 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. So I think that's a really good look there. Also, you look here, so really good touchdown to INT ratio. And you look here, he's tied for eighth in completion percentage with 72.4%. So he's looking really strong in those two numbers where he's completing at a high pop, which is so key for this offense. Get the easy completions, let your receivers make plays. It's about finding the open man and running the system, and he's doing a great job of that. And then he's also, I think, where the number doesn't look as good as when you look over here. Big time throws 5 to 4 turnover worthy plays. Obviously, he had that one really ugly pass against West Virginia. He also had a bunch of awesome passes against West Virginia. And then basically the rest of those turnover worthy plays are against Texas Tech. So 5 to 4, it's not terrible. Big time throws of turnover worthy plays, but it's not good either, right? I think you'd like to see more from him there. And then just right here, guys, this yards per attempt. So yes, he's got a 72.4% completion percentage, which is awesome. But you look at yards per attempt. So this is like how far downfield is he pushing the ball when he takes a shot? I mean, we got to go down quite a ways. You look here, Devin Dampier's at 6.8 yards per attempt. So under 7 yards per attempt, and he is tied for 57th in the P4, and there's only 64 quarterbacks on this list. So I would just point that out, that of guys that have gotten 50 plus dropbacks, he is towards the bottom there, which is, it depends. It could be a bad thing. I think this offense asks him to do that, asks him to find the open man and just hit him. But I do think the completion percentage is a little less impressive when you look at the yards per attempt. Overall, I think the passing numbers, and you look at yards, I think that's a good one to look at for Devin Dampier. Where does he land? Let me see. Passing yards for Devin Dampier. So he's at 1,028. So 38th among P4 quarterbacks with 50 plus dropbacks. So right in the middle there, right? And he is also a weapon with his legs. So I think that's a good sign. But either way, I think he's having a solid year so far through the air. I'd say slightly above average when you weigh everything, but I think there's still a little more you could expect from him. I think he's looked great in some games, and just honestly, it was just really bad in that one game against Texas Tech. And it also seems like there was an injury involved there. So that's kind of Devin Dampier's situation. Let's go ahead and pull him up as an individual player. Let's take a look at the rushing numbers. You know what? Actually, let's go ahead and look at rushing, but only for quarterbacks in the P4. I think that'll be a fun exercise to see where he ranks among P4 quarterbacks for rushing. So only quarterbacks, yeah. Well, I guess we'll go minimum run attempts. Well, actually, yeah, we'll do minimum rush attempts and we'll say 25. So a decent little sample size there, about 5 rushes per game. And then let's go ahead and do position. We'll get out fullbacks and running backs, only non running backs. So yards per attempt. Where is Devin Dampier among yards per attempt? So he's 15th in yards per attempt for rushing the ball with 273 yards, 5.3 yards a carry. He has 2 touchdowns. This number is quite high. He has 4 fumbles. I didn't even know that off the top of my head. That's actually quite a bit. For carries of 10 plus yards, he is probably right around here, I would imagine. Yeah, so 25th with 5 carries of 10 plus yards. And for carries of 15 plus yards, he is he is um, fifth in carries of 15 plus yards. So he's up there with the guys when it comes to making explosive runs. Um, so when he does get a run, it's usually a pretty big run. Total yards, I'm going to imagine he's quite high on that one. So total yards, yeah, Devin Dampier right here, seventh among P4 quarterbacks, and it's not just quarterbacks; it's any non running back player, right? But it's almost all quarterbacks. Um, yeah, so I think he's looking really strong as a runner. I think there's some room to ask for more because I do think he's one of the best running quarterbacks in all of college football. So I'd like to see him more at the top of some of these numbers. But again, that's being really nitpicky. Overall, it's I think Devin Dampier, when you combine he's looking above average as a passer and really good as a runner. I think you're looking at a good season from Devin Dampier so far. But I do think there is still some light concern there just as we head into this next part of the season. I think Arizona State and BYU are really going to test us and really going to test Evan Dampier because his one game where he played really good talent was Texas Tech. And it was not a good game. It was quite a bad game for the whole offense, but also for Devin Dampier. So I'm excited to see how Devin Dampier looks against Arizona State and BYU. I think it'll give us a really clear picture of what we as a team will look like the rest of the season. So that's all I'm going to touch on with Devin Dampier, but a guy that I would put in the good category right now with a question mark. Let's see when he gets tested again against good talent. I think we've seen that he can thrive against opponents that are less than like very well, like really eat him alive. Like he was out of the game by the fourth quarter against West Virginia and killed it against them, but we do need to see it. Now, there's only been one opportunity. There's only been one opportunity for him to show it against good teams. But again, we still do need to see it. Our schedule's kind of been pretty light outside for one really difficult game. And now it's time for him to, these coming weeks, Arizona State, BYU, to show that he is capable of doing it against good teams. And I'm excited to see that. All right, guys. Now we are moving into the running game for Utah. So, taking a look at the rushing game, I'm not going to include non running backs because I really want this to be focused on the actual running backs. I do know that Smith Snowden gets involved in the rushing game, but I'd say it's not going to be enough at this point for me to really want to take a look at it. But I am going to look at the running backs. I think we have some cool numbers here. I broke things down a little smaller because running backs, there's so many guys. So I'm only looking at running backs with at least 25 carries, and I'm only looking at running backs in the Big 12. But we've got some guys that have some really impressive numbers. So right out the gate, Wayshawn Parker, take a look here, guys. He is at 280 yards of rushing on the year, and that's only on 40 carries. So this is where he really stands out. 7 yards per carry, which puts him tied for second in the Big 12 at yards per attempt. He's got 3 touchdowns as well, which is more than anyone else in this range of yards per attempt. He does have 2 fumbles as well, which is more than a lot of other guys in that range. And you kind of go down the line here, guys. Missed tackles forced, he's at 11. That's probably a number you'd like to see a little higher, but it's pretty good. I mean, 40 carries, 11 missed tackles for us. That's just over 25%. So a pretty good number overall. 8 carries of 10 plus yards, 4 carries of 15 plus yards, and 13 first downs. So strong numbers by him. Um, I think Wayshawn looks extremely good. I do believe they are limiting him on purpose, right? And if you scroll over here, you can see he's also up here for receiving yards. He's at 91 receiving yards on the year. So 91 receiving plus 280 rushing. I mean, he's at what, 370 total yards. Very good there. So I'm excited to see in the second half of the year, especially as we get into good teams like Arizona State and BYU. How they utilize him if they really start to give him more carries and let him be explosive, right? I think there's a strong possibility that will happen. And then let's go ahead and move to another running back on our team that does get a lot of carries, and that's going to be what's his name, Nakari Rogers. Really impressive running back here. Nakari Rogers, you take a look here. He's 10th in total rushing yards at 250 yards on 60 attempts. Now you look here, the 4.2 yards a carry. It's not super impressive, but it's a decent number. But he does have 4 touchdowns, and this is where I think he could definitely improve. Only 7 forced missed tackles on 60 carries. That's getting close to that 10% range, which is just too low. He needs to do better in that range. He does have 5 carries of 10 plus yards, so almost 10% of his carries go for 10 plus yards. But this, and 2 carries for 15 plus yards. But this is where he shines, guys. So 23 carries that have gone for first downs. So on 60 attempts rushing the ball, he has 23 times that it went for a first down. So he's getting close to 50% of his carries go for a first down. And I think what that tells you is that yards per attempt and the total yards, he's used a lot as a short yardage back and getting gritty yards and getting those 3 to 5 yard runs. So I think a lot of it is situational, why his yards per attempt is so low. But I do think with Nikari Rogers, the clear thing he needs to get better at is making guys miss. He needs to make guys miss. And I think he looked good against West Virginia. I think he definitely broke a tackle or two in that game. But I do want to see it a little more from him. I think that'll be a big go for him as we finish out the year or as we, get closer to the end of the season. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clear this out and I'm just going to go to Utah and we can look at all the guys getting rushing attempts for Utah. I think there's a guy off the top of my head that I'd like to see more rushing attempts for, and I'm just going to bump this down to, let's say, 10 carries, right? So guys that have had at least 10 carries. So I think Bird Fickland for sure. I want to see them continue to get him involved on the trick plays, stuff like that. Um, I think that would be nice to see Nate Johnson as well. I think both of those guys can be deadly, and because you have both of them, and their ability to make plays off those trick plays, you could do a lot there, right? You could do a lot with getting those guys involved. Where find ways to get both of them on this field at the same time. They're both deadly as receiving weapons as well as at quarterback. So think of the trick plays you could run there. I'd really like to see us get creative there. I'm going to take off the limiter. And this is one other guy I want to point out. Daniel Bray, 3 carries for 32 yards. He came in against West Virginia. He looked very electric, very explosive. I'd really like to see us get him more involved. Smith Snowden has been kind of hit or miss with the running game where his numbers look good, but more recently it feels like there's been a lot of just not effective carries. So I wouldn't mind him getting more involved as the season keeps going, but really keep an eye on if he's maximizing those opportunities. But overall, I think our rushing game, especially our running backs, look really strong with that duo of Wayshawn Parker and Nakari Rogers. We just need to find that third guy to get in the mix. And I think Daniel Bray really has that possibility. I think he's looked very good against West Virginia. He looks so explosive. I wouldn't mind us getting him a few extra carries. I know we're sometimes worried about burning red shirts, but I think he might be a guy worth taking that risk on. I mean, he was very explosive and dynamic. I'd really like to see us test him a little more and see what he can do in like real competitive game situations. So that's the rushing game for Utah right there. And let's move on. Okay, guys, and now we are looking at the receiving weapons for Utah as we head into the bye. So we've got some guys that really are showing up. And so I'm going to go off minimum number of targets, let's say 20. So it's like 4 a game. So as we look at the yards per reception, stuff like that, that'll account for a lot. So taking a look at them, guys, clearly the Big 12 has some good playmakers at receiver. You can see here looking at total yards. Jordan Tyson's 483. But then if you look for Utah, Ryan Davis is at 347. He is fourth in overall receiving yards in the entire Big 12. I think that was a little surprising to me. I knew he was doing well, but I think that was a standout for me. I knew he'd be really high in receptions, where if you look at receptions, he's at 36, which is just a few behind number one. He's number two in total receptions, and he's number four in total yards. So pretty impressive. Only 2 touchdowns, though. And I think that's going to kind of come into play when we say, like, you want a little more yak for the guy. So take a look here, guys. 2.6 yards of yak. Look at everyone else in this range, right? Basically, everyone else in this range is significantly higher than that, right? This guy's the only close one. He's at 3.8. This guy's worse, but we got to go quite a ways down to find him. Um, and then you look here, he's at 32 yards is his longest play, where the next lowest is 33 yards, right? We need a little more explosiveness out of Ryan Davis, but don't think I'm bashing the guy. I think he's really coming on as the season gets going. Um, 4 contested catch opportunities, only 1 catch, but again, he's a little guy. He's not going to be, making big plays over the top. Now, this is where we've seen Ryan Davis really pick it up. 7 forced missed tackles, super impressive number here. You look at the other guys in this sample size, right? He's right up there at the top. Only one guy, 2 guys, I guess, that are higher than him. He is making guys miss, and I believe, check me on this. Almost all of those broken tackles are in the past 2 weeks. He really stepped it up recently and really started to make plays. And you look for total first downs. Ryan Davis is at 19 total first downs, and the one guy ahead of him is the one guy that has more receptions than him. So I think that's absolutely fine. I think Ryan Davis is looking really strong and continuing to get better as the season goes on. He does have the one fumble, but I think we're seeing a lot of great things from Ryan Davis. And I think those missed tackles, if he can keep it up, they're going to start paying off. And I actually really believe Ryan Davis could be a very deadly weapon for Utah as the season keeps going. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out wide receivers because I want us to take a look at these guys. These are the tight ends, and I'll bring the targets down to 10 just to give a bigger sample size. But take a look here, guys. Dallin Bentley is number two in total receiving yards for tight ends in the Big 12. Extremely impressive number. And I'm going to go ahead and take the limiter off here and just look at total tight ends, Dallin Bentley is actually number 9 in the country for receiving yards by a tight end. And if you look, he's above Terrence Carter Jr., who is a very highly touted NFL prospect. So I'm going to go back to the Big 12, but I want you guys to understand it. And this, I knew Dallin Bentley was looking good, but I think we're starting to see that this guy could be an extremely good tight end, and I'm excited to see it. So you look at that, 246 yards, second in the Big 12, ninth in the country for tight ends. Look at this number, guys. 5 contested catch opportunities, only 2 catches. Let's hope he can pick that up. But this stands out to me, guys. 13 first downs. So when he is getting a catch, so on 22 receptions, he's got 13 first downs, which tells you that he is getting plays. So when he gets a catch, he is making a first down. Extremely impressive. 4 yards of yak after the catch. It's a little low. We want to see that get higher. You look at the rest of these tight ends; they're all getting a little more than that after the catch. But either way, I think we got a real good playmaker here in Dallin Bentley. 2 penalties, that's more than the other guys, but still not a super high number. It's not like I'm worried about that. Forced missed tackles, only 2. And I think that kind of explains why the yak's a little low. So another guy that I think we'd like to see a little more missed tackles from. But overall, Dallin Bentley and Ryan Davis both look like extremely effective, extremely efficient receiving weapons. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just to Utah because I want us to take a look at it because I think it's important. And I think this is something we need to observe and call out a little bit here. So, yes, Ryan Davis is tracking to be one of the better receivers, at least stat wise, in the country right now, which is awesome. Dallin Bentley's tracking to be one of the better tight ends in the country, at least stat wise as well. So that's a really good look. And between the two of them, we have 5 touchdowns. The problem right now, guys, is after that. Now, Hunter Andrews is out for the season, so I don't even know if you could technically count him. But this is guys that have received 10 targets. That's 2 targets a game, just so we're on the same page. There's only 5 guys or 6 guys that have received 10 targets. That's pretty wild. And one of them's out for the rest of the year in Hunter Andrews. And Tobias Merriweather continues 17 targets, 6 catches, really struggling there. JJ Buchanan's starting to come on. I think it's 13 targets, 9 catches. I know it's kind of weird. You can't really see it. Oh, yeah, 13 targets, 9 catches, 78 yards. And he's starting to come on. I hope we can target him some more. He's been looking pretty good. Let's see his contested catch numbers. Yeah, look at that. 4 contested catch opportunities and 3 contested catches. So let's keep getting him those contested catches. And all 3 of his catches went for first downs, it looks like. Yeah, all 3 of his catches went for first downs. And he has 2 broken tackles on only 9 catches. So let's hope we can continue to get him involved and get hopefully Smith Snowden involved. Um, I think we just need to find ways to spread the ball around more because I it's awesome for us to have Ryan Davis and Dallin Bentley doing so well, but you can feel it in the game where even though their numbers look good, the offense doesn't always feel the way those numbers look. And again, they all sat out in the fourth quarter basically, so those numbers could have looked a little better if it was a more competitive game, but I still think that's worth calling out that we do need to find a way to involve these other guys more. And I think for me, when I look at this, JJ Buchanan is clearly the guy that I'd like to see involved more. I know the overall grade isn't super good, but what we're seeing and the stats are adding up to him putting up some great performances. And if you look, they're actually getting him in quite a bit. What is his total? Yeah, so he's basically in the slot almost all the time, and he has 76 snaps in the slot. No one else is even close to him there. I guess Ryan Davis is 53 snaps, but still. So it feels like JJ Buchanan's probably our slot guy moving forward, which is a good sign. Slot guys get heavily targeted. I'm excited to see how we can utilize them in these coming games where we are going to get tested and we're going to need people to step up and make plays. I hope he's one of them. I hope Smith Snowden's one of them, and hopefully Ryan Davis or Tobias Merriweather can show that he's capable. And then also the Ryan Davis and Dallin Bentley, like, hey, big game time, right? We 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 need you guys to do it in these big performances, which they both did a good job against Texas Tech. Now it's time for them to do it against a stretch of good opponents coming up here. Okay, guys. Now we are going to look at the offensive line for Utah. We'll also add in the tight ends when we get to the run blocking, but for pass blocking, we'll just look at the offensive line. And so I think one guy that no one's really talking about, just how damn impressive he's been pass blocking, is Tanoa Togiai. On 180 pass block snaps, this guy has allowed 1 pressure and has an 88.8 pass block grade. These are elite numbers, guys. And for true pass sets, he has 0 pressures allowed. Really, really impressive stuff. Spencer Fano also having a very good year as far as pass blocking goes, a 73.4 grade. On 180 pass block snaps, he's only allowed 3 pressures. Those are very strong, very impressive numbers. Where Spencer Fano is struggling is he has had 4 penalties. That's almost 1 per game. Now, I do believe a good chunk of those were in one game, so I don't think it's super showing how he's doing on the season. I think he's having a good year. I think it's maybe not as elite as I expected to start the year, but still trending really well to have a very good season and looking like one of the best offensive tackles in the Big 12. Michael Mokofisi as well, very impressive pass blocking, only 2 pressures allowed on 166 pass block snaps. Very strong number. Again, that's pressure wise, that's like less than half a pressure per game. So very, very strong number there. 0 penalties for Michael Mokofisi. So a guy that's really holding his own, really looking strong. Jaron Kump, 4 pressures allowed on 153 pass block snaps. Not amazing, not terrible either, a 67.2 pass block grade, so slightly above average, less than 1 pressure a game. Solid, right? I think you're happy with what you're seeing from Jaren Kump. I don't think anyone expected a superstar in Jaren Kump, and the way he's holding his own looks strong. Only one penalty. I mean, you couldn't add, you can't bag on the guy. You could expect a little more, and hopefully he improves a little as the season goes. But he's doing what you would expect him to do, and I think he's shown solid results early in the year. Now, I do want to call out Caleb Lomu. I it's so he's not doing terribly, but 7 pressures on 180 pass block snaps where we're getting into a range where you don't wanna see that. 7 pressures on 180 pass block snaps. That's one of the higher pressure rates, in the Big 12, and especially for a guy that does have a ton of hype, that does have a ton of expectation. I'm not saying he's doing terrible. It's a little more than 1 pressure a game, so it's not terrible, but I do think for the expectation we have for him, you expect more. And I know he allowed 3 in one game against Texas Tech. I don't know the exact number he allowed last game, but I it must have been at least 2 because that number did jump up again. So hopefully, he's figuring it out and he's improving because that is a little too high. And you can see here for true pass sets, he has doubled the amount of anyone else for pressures allowed. So hopefully we see him improve. I do think that's something to keep an eye on. Caleb Lomu, a guy I think all of us have really high expectations for, and hopefully he continues to improve. But for me right now, I think he's had some tough tests, but he's kind of the guy on the offensive line, pass blocking wise, that really does need to step it up and improve. Again, he's had some tough tests. Not bagging on the guy, but I do think we're starting to get to that conversation where it's, hey, okay, let's step it up. Like the rest of the offensive line's doing really well against 2 elite pass rushing units in West Virginia and Texas Tech. It's time for you to do it too. So hopefully he can step it up. Okay. Now, run blocking wise, Spencer Fano's shining quite well. You look here, guys, a 74.6 grade on 53 run block snaps, or on 179 run block snaps. Dallin Bentley, 136 run block snaps. Overall, run blocking, we're looking pretty decent. As you get towards the bottom here, our guards could be getting a little more. And I don't love the Caleb moves at the lower end of this, considering where his pass blocking is. But honestly, with run blocking, I I don't I don't look at it as valuable with the PFF grades as I do for pass blocking, just in my opinion, because I can look at the data PFF gives me, and here I'm really just looking at a grade, right? There's not too much crazy data I can dive into, so I'm not going to hold this with too high regard, but I do think I don't like how many guys are under 65 here, right? I think you'd like to see better. I like the down Bentley's high. I like the Spencer Fano's high. Kind of overall with the offensive line guys, I think there's overall pass blocking wise, I think we look very strong. I think the unit overall, it's been tested and proven against 2 very good pass rushing units in West Virginia and Texas Tech. I think Caleb Lomu needs to step it up a little bit, but again, I think the pass rushers will go against throughout the rest of the year will not quite be at the level of those 2 teams. They were 2 very good pass rushing teams, and I think even West Virginia, I know a lot of people don't think they're good, and they don't seem to be good, but their pass rushing was very good. So I think the rest of the year should be a little easier on our pass blocking. And so let's hope we can step it up there. And then from what I'm seeing in the run blocking in the actual games, um, uh, and just one more time on the pass blocking, when I say step it up, I hope we can just get Caleb Lamu to bring that his performance up a little bit. But overall, as a pass blocking unit, looks in that for me very good to elite conversation when you consider who we've gone up against. Now, run blocking, I just watching with my own eyes, I think the eye test is most important. I don't feel like we're getting a lot of move, especially when we really want to run the ball, when we try to force it. I think we could do a better job play calling wise of not running against stacked boxes and, picking our matchups, right? Look at the numbers. Should we run? Should we pass? I think we could do a smarter job there. But I don't think we're doing terrible run blocking, but I don't think we're getting the push up front that I'd like. So something to keep an eye on as the season keeps going. So that'll conclude the offense, and we will move over to the defense. Okay, guys, now we are looking at pass rush grades. So with pass rush, Utah is looking awesome. There are a lot of good pass rushing teams in the Big 12, but I think when you guys look at these numbers, you will see that Utah actually does stand out as the most impressive team. Again, there are some good ones in here. This is only for pass rushers that had at least 30 snaps. And I want to show you guys something super impressive. So this is John Henry Daly. John Henry Daly for pass rush win rate. So, what percentage of his pass rushes does he beat the offensive tackle on? He has a 29.2% pass rush win rate. The next best guy is at 23.4%. And that's Romello Height, highly regarded as one of the best pass rushers in all of college football. John Henry Daly is having a incredible, unbelievable year. I mean, this guy, and just so you guys know, if I take the filters off for teams, John Henry Daly actually has the highest pass rate in the country for pass rushers that have at least 100 pass rush snaps. So he is crazy impressive. And you look here, that 92.7 grade is no joke. He's got 6 sacks, 22 pressures, just a monster getting into the backfield. Do not play with this kid. One other shout out, Chase Kennedy at Arizona. He was on our team. And when I watched his recruiting film, I felt like his pass rush ability was extremely impressive. I'm sad it didn't work out with Utah, but I'd like to think Utah can take a little bit of credit for developing him. And then you look, guys, Lance Holtzclaw pops up here. He's a guy that has 38 pass rush snaps for Utah and a 17.1% win rate. But what really stands out about this guy is his pressure rate. So you look at that, guys, his win percentage is only 17.1, which is very good, but his pressure rate is very high on the pass rush wins. So you can see here, guys, 6 pressures on only 38 pass rush snaps with a 17.1 pass rush win rate. So he's basically getting a pressure almost every time he rushes the passer. Really impressive number here. And you scroll down a little more, we've got Logan Fano, who stepped it up last week against West Virginia, a 16.1% pass rush win rate on 64 pass rush snaps. So really impressive from him as well. I really want us to find ways to get Logan Fano and Lance Holtzclaw on the field more. And when you look, guys, when you look at that trio we've got there, there's not really a more impressive trio in the country. And when you look at the duo of Lance Holtzclaw and John Henry Daly, there's not a more impressive duo. And I think you could even probably argue that even Logan Fano and John Henry Daly are more impressive than Romello Height and David Bailey when you consider the quality difference between Logan Fano and David Bailey and the quality difference between Romello Height and John Henry Daly. So pass rush wise, guys, we look extremely strong, super impressive. And this is just we got a group here that is really deadly. And let's go ahead and take a look at just Utah so we can better get a better idea of our team. But when it does come to edge rushers, guys, we've got one of the best pass rushes in the country, and not just the Big 12, like really very impressive unit that leads that is one of the best in the country. So taking a look here, guys, who could we get some extra pass rush opportunities for? Lander Barton with that 12.2 as a linebacker. I'd like to see him get some more reps. Paul Fitzgerald as well, 38 pass rush snaps, a 15.2% win percentage. I mean, look at that. Those 4 guys. I mean, you could just rotate those guys all day, keep them fresh, and they are going to cause havoc in the backfield. Paul Fitzgerald, Lance Holtzclaw, 2 guys that I'd really like to see get more reps, especially Lance Holtzclaw. I think it's almost criminal that we're not getting this guy out on the field more. I'd really like to see us prioritize that. Seems like a big opportunity for us that we're missing. Um, uh, Jonah Laia has a very high pressure rate, but it's only 8 pressures on 130 pass rush snaps. I'm not going to get out of control about that. I think our 4 edge rushers are the guys that I'd really like to see rotate more. Pretty decent win rate from Cash Dillon. Again, I think defensive interior isn't quite as focused on rushing the passer as they are on clogging up the run, where our edge rushers are meant to get back there and rush the passer. But I think we've got edge rush unit wise. I think we're up there with anyone in the country, if not really in the conversation, right? So really good group, guys. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about them in the comments. So I don't think you could ask for much more from our pass rush group on defense. Okay, guys, now we are looking at run defense grades and run defense stats for our defense. So, taking a look here, you can see the missed tackle percentage. We got some guys and we're only looking at guys with 30 plus run snaps, but Aliki Vamahi on 82 run defense snaps, he's made three tackles, missed zero, and three stops, which means all of his tackles are neutral or negative plays for the defense. Lance Holtzclaw as well. Huge shout out here, guys. I mean, talk about an underused player, underutilized player. 77.1 run defense grade, four tackles, zero missed tackles, and four stops. So all of his tackles are at the line or behind the line. And he is a very good run defense player and an elite pass rusher. I mean, I want to get maybe not elite pass rusher, but very good. I really think this guy needs to see the field more. He's probably standing out to me more than anyone else I've seen going through these numbers. Jonah Laea looks very strong. Zero missed tackle percentage, nine stops on 11 tackles, 7.9 stop percentage. Very strong numbers there. Carson Kafusi, another guy, five tackles, zero missed tackles, three stops on those tackles. Strong numbers there. I think as we go down here, right, we got a lot of guys that have very good numbers, right? Like these are low missed tackle percentages. This column right here is missed tackle percentage. I think it's more concerning as you look at the high missed tackle percentages. Um, you look here. I mean, we have guys that have now Nate Ritchie. I'm not sure if he's in or out. I don't know what his injury status is at the moment, but his is pretty alarming. And the good news is the other guys that have a high missed tackle percentage, they don't have a ton of opportunities. So it could be more of a sample size thing. So I think you could look at these percentages and think we have a problem with missed tackles. But overall, we look decent. Stop percentage, let's take a look at that. Nate Ritchie, though, I do think if he does come back in, hopefully he cleans up those missed tackles because that's the numbers are pretty rough. Um, so taking a look here, guys, stop percentages. So Paul Fitzgerald with 39 run defense snaps has a 15.8 stop percentage, and he's another guy that had a really good pass rush grade. I mean, Lance Holtzclaw, guys, it is honestly, I really want us to find ways to get Lance Holtzclaw, Paul Fitzgerald more involved. I mean, these numbers are really impressive. Another two guys that really stand out to me, Trey Reynolds missing a few too many tackles, but the stop percentage is quite high. And then right here, this guy's standing out, Pew Pew Supolona, five tackles, zero missed tackles, five stops. That let's get that guy in a little more, right? Let's get him some more reps. A lot of guys here that deserve more reps, but to me, Paul Fitzgerald and Lance Holtzclaw are the guys I'd really like to see us maximize a bit more than we currently are. Let's go over to coverage. This is one I'm excited to take a better look at. So looking at coverage snaps, I think our defense has been exposed, especially at DB. I'm gonna only look at linebackers, corners, and safeties because I'm not too concerned about how our edge rushers cover. Um, so let's take a look here. We're going to sort by targets. So who's been targeted the most? It's Elijah Davis and Jackson Benny. And I would say Elijah Davis was getting targeted heavily early in the year. And I think they realized he wasn't as weak of a link as they thought he was, and they backed off a little. That's what I picked up on. Or at least they started going other areas. Jackson Benny's been targeted a lot, allowing nearly a 62 completion percentage. And one of the biggest alarming numbers is a yak of 79 yards. Like that reception percentage plus that yak, not good, right? The good thing for him is he has forced three interceptions and he has a touchdown. So he's kind of a tale of two tapes, right? Where some of these numbers look really bad for him, like that yak, like and 13.6 yards per reception with that reception percentage, that's rough. But then, you know, you look here, two pass breakups, three INTs, and a touchdown. So you'll kind of call it even with him, but you really do want to see these numbers improve here for Jackson Benny. Elijah Davis looking solid. He's only let up 25 yak. Um, but looks decent. Or Elijah Davis looking decent, only 70 yards allowed, 25 yak, no pass breakups, no INTs, and only he's allowing less than a 50% completion percentage when targeted. Nate Ritchie, clearly the standout, unimpressive guy here. Just being real about it, not trying to make anyone feel bad, but 15 targets, 10 receptions allowed. I mean, that's nearly 67%. That's crazy high. 151 yards allowed, and 122 of that is yak. And that adds up with his missed tackle numbers in the running game. And in the passing game, he has another 4 missed tackles, almost 30% there as well. So on the season, Nate Ritchie has 11 missed tackles. Crazy. Um, Nate Ritchie does have some good numbers here. Like some of these numbers aren't that bad, but I do think the bad is really outweighing the good with Nate Ritchie right now. So I think you want to see a lot more from the guy. Taking a look at Smith Snowden, 13 targets, 7 receptions allowed. So, a little just under 54% for 78 yards. I like that he's been targeted so little because you actually look at the coverage snaps. He's got 101, so it's not like he's not out there playing. He's only allowed 17 yards of yak. That's a really impressive number on 7 catches. Um, so good look there. 2 pass breakups, no INTs. Um, yeah, and he's allowed 1 touchdown. So not too terrible there. Blake Cotton coming up next. Blake Cotton's a guy that has been getting a good amount of reps at corner. Blake Cotton is 13 targets, 8 receptions, so 61.5 reception percentage is pretty high. He's allowed 90 yards. That's not terrible. Only 30 yards a yak. That's probably why he's only allowed 90 yards on 8 catches. Longest catch allowed is 18 yards, 1 pass breakup. Numbers look decent for him, not terrible. Tao Johnson, Jonathan Hall. You look here, 9 targets, 6 catches, 7 targets, 4 catches. Neither one of those guys allowed more than 40 yards. I think we got a lot of guys in here that look solid. I think Nate Ritchie, Jackson Benny are the guys we want to keep an eye on as the season keeps going. They do seem to be letting up a lot of yards. Now, Jackson Benny's making way more plays than Nate Ritchie is. And Nathan Tillman, I believe he started getting some reps after the Nate Richie injury. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I'm right there. And he's allowed on 31 coverage snaps, 1 target for 1 catch for 39 yards. So not bad, but it was a huge play. And he missed the tackle on that, right? So anyways, so that's kind of what we're looking at target wise. And that's kind of what we're looking at as the team. I mean, that'll kind of close out our numbers. I don't think there's anything else I really feel the need to dive into right now. I think we went over a lot of good data, guys, and I think we've got some strong weapons on our team. I think I'm just going to give my final thoughts here before we close out. Receiving weapons, we clearly need to get more guys involved. It's if one of those guys goes down, either Bentley or Davis, it's a problem. The other problem with it is teams can just spotlight those two and just smother them because we're not targeting anyone else and we're not seeing any great chemistry. Buchanan's bubbling up. I really want to see us go his way more. I'm excited about that. But those two, Davis and Bentley, they're just too much of a focal point right now. We need to spread it out. And I actually think if we spread it out more, we'll see Davis and Bentley take off and become more explosive because the defense is not able to focus on them as much. Defensive wise, I think we have a problem with, or not a problem. We've got a lot of good situations on defense. Our edge rushers are looking awesome. I really want to see Lance Holtzclaw come off and get more opportunities. And I want to see Paul Fitzgerald get more opportunities. Both of those guys look very strong. I would even say they're at the moment performing better than Logan Fano, who I'm a huge fan of. But like get them in that rotation more. They're earning the reps. Let them get out there and play because they're looking really good. And then I think on defense, we also need to figure out the safety situation. We're getting exposed with our safeties and coverage. I know we're asking them to man up a lot, but still, we're getting exposed a little, and it's starting to show. And I think it's really hurt us in some games, like Texas Tech. So let's hope we can bounce back. Let's stop missing so many tackles, and let's figure it out. We also have, John Henry Daly playing like a top 15 pick, looking amazing. I think he's going to creep into that, day two conversation before we know it. For my money, he's already in that day two conversation. I mean, the highest pass rush win rate in all of football for guys that have 100 pass rush snaps. That's crazy. And he's playing P4 football. So excited to see how he continues the rest of the year. On offense, I think Devin Dampier is looking very explosive and a ton of potential there, but we need to see it against good talent. We need to see our offense in general against good talent. I really want to see us get a third running back involved, figure out who that is. Maybe it's Daniel Bray. Maybe we don't want to use him right now because of his red shirt, but I'd like to see us give him a shot because he does look nasty good. Outside of that, guys, I think we got a lot to look forward to on the year. Like the video, comment your thoughts down below. Anyone I forgot to touch on, any positions you want to give more detail on, and subscribe to the channel. We do a pregame and a postgame for each game, and I hope you stick around. I'm out of here. Go Utes.